We live in a time where stress and mental health struggles are reaching an all-time high. Today I have with me Vic Lebouthillier, the founder of My Outcomes, which is an organization that is pioneering innovative programs to prevent mental health struggles by building resilience, or for those who experience a struggle, overcome it through the use of advanced neural, social, and behavioral science. Welcome to the show, Vic.
Welcome. Thank you, Randy.
Who is My Outcomes? What is it?
Well, My Outcomes is a group of clinicians who are researching what we call advanced behavior, neural, and social sciences. And we take these findings and we put them into products and services for those to prevent mental health issues through building resilience or overcoming a mental health struggle.
And how did you end up in this business, Vic?
Well, I spent 12 years as a management consultant working in businesses, and we noticed that the workplace stress was just escalating year after year. And it became a big issue with Canadian Mental Health Commission, business owners, HR managers. So we began to observe that, and back in 1990, provide services to build resilience, to help people learn how to deal with stress. And so that's how we got our beginning. I then moved into publishing. I had a real abrupt change in my career and got into publishing, and we started to publish information on the brain's neuroplasticity and how the brain can change. Prior to that time, we saw the brain as hardwired. And so we started to publish information, and it was well received, and there was a real need for it. And people were receiving that need. And then after working in publishing, I decided I wanted to go back and be more connected with people. It was a bit of a disconnect from being with people. Working in office all the time. So we opened up a 24-bed inpatient facility, and we're still running it today, where people come in to deal with mental health struggles.
Anxiety, depression, PTSD?
Yeah, those are the primary ones. Those are the big ones.
So why the increase in stress and mental health today? What's going on?
Well, that's a big question. We're, as a health science community, we're still trying to determine that. But three big ones that we know of. One of the big ones that's really surfacing in the last decade, maybe it's been out since 1995, is the ACE study. The ACE is an acronym for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And adverse childhood experience is basically someone who's had multiple ACEs as a child, and when they come into their adult years, they're just not ready to deal with life challenges. And so they get stressed over issues. Chronic stress, undealt with, turns into a mental health issue. So we're now starting to see the validity of that study. More than ever, it's gaining widespread global acceptance. And an ACE is simply verbal abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, or neglect. And so those are a significant factor to people susceptible. The next one that's really emerging quickly is loneliness. Now up to 49% of North Americans are suffering from loneliness. In fact, the UK has
they've made a minister of loneliness.
Minister of loneliness, yes.
Like they've created a whole department in their government.
Studies are coming out, some saying as high as 90% of men have no one to confide in. So pain held in increases, pain expressed is reduced. So we need connection. We're built for connection. And we become lonely, become highly susceptible. And then of course the one that's really becoming a concern is screen time. We're replacing connections with screen time. And although screen times can be valuable in educational reasons, sometimes it doesn't replace the things that you receive in a relationship. So those are three significant factors. I mean, many others, but those are the big ones that we pay attention to.
So tell us about the products that you've developed. You've developed 3 different products with your company, My Outcomes.
Our first product is My Outcomes, which we talked about. It's an inpatient facility where people come for a month and then they go home and have a 2-month aftercare program. So they have an app on their phone and they're connected to the counselors and the people that were in their same groups. So they're really staying engaged when they go home, because perhaps the number one issue is staying engaged with people, being connected.
But is that like a group therapy thing, or what are they doing in the retreat center?
At the Live Center, we focus on engagement. We focus on cardio. Of course, people are starting to hear the new Harvard study that came out, I think about a decade ago, showing that those who do regular cardiovascular activity stand the chance of overcoming a mental health issue by up to 35%. Now that's significant. So sedentarism is becoming a big issue in Western society. The next one is nature. We're seeing now new studies showing the impact that nature has on people. So we have cabins up in the mountains and take people, we do solo programs and get people just connected to nature. And then, of course, group and individual therapy, as I said.
And nutrition. You're also addressing nutrition, which is...
Gut health has a big link to brain health, so we're dealing with that as well, too.
So that's the one part of your company. What are the other two parts of your company?
Our second product is MyOutcomes. MyOutcomes is a clinical program. We're partnering with Dr. Scott Miller and his work and really trying to commercialize measuring the effectiveness of therapists, counselors, coaches, anyone, social workers, anyone who works with someone one-on-one. And it's a system that measures the effectiveness, measures the clinical outcomes, and reports that to the therapist, the client, and the clinical director. And then from that, we can determine what type of training that therapist needs. So we have e-learning programs for the therapists. And this is based on all the most advanced training that's in the marketplace. So we been running that now for about 5 or 6 years, and that product is sold in 20 different countries and translated into 6 languages and used by universities to train students in large and small mental health clinics. Our third product is the Resilient Mind, and that's a product that we're currently beta testing. And basically, the Resilient Mind is a product that is designed to help people build grit and resilience. So the objective of that is to make advanced behavioral, neuro, and social sciences affordable and accessible to all. So it's a web-based program that a trainer gets trained in. It's a trainer-trainer model that they can host it and run it in businesses and keep the cost down. So we can provide 18 hours of continuing education for an employee that they can do at lunch hour. And then during the week, they meet for 7 weeks for 75 minutes. During the week, they're pushed out 2 homework assignments, and they do those assignments. They have 3 times a week. They're really becoming conscious of their stress level and learning tools to bring their stuff down. We use sort of a scale saying you're regulated or you're escalated. So we all know what getting escalated is. So what if we were to create consciousness when we are escalated and have a tool belt on where we have tools to learn to bring ourselves back down? So that's the essence of what that program is.
Well, we're so grateful that you're in the business you're in and that you're driving solutions in the private sector. Vic, thank you for coming on Biz 101. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Randy.
Natalia Sokolova, managing partner of the SGG World's Sokol family office, is a business strategist and investor who focuses on high-impact tech opportunities. 2 areas she is currently interested in are blockchain technology and gamification of the world. Natalia has a very eclectic background, from wheelchair to Playboy Playmate and supermodel to successful entrepreneur. She's using her experience to identify companies that have a potential of making the most impact on the world. And she joins us today on Biz 101 to tell us the story of her life and career, and also what SGG World specializes in. Welcome, Natalia.
Thank you, Randy. Thanks for having me here.
Our first Playboy Playmate on Biz 101, and that is really a small part of your life story, but how do you, I need to know.
Okay.
Run me through it.
Yeah, like the word eclectic actually is a great description for my life, because I was born in Moscow, and I came from the oldest living noble family in Russia. And my family was, in a pretty high circles. So by the time that the Soviet Union fell down, my father and his brother were able to do a lot of government contracts. So fast forward a few years, my father actually has a Swiss citizen. They created a family office that focused on construction development, natural resource sector. So the whole concept was, when the Soviet Union fell down, I was one of the first programs participants that between Moscow State University and US universities. So at 15 years old, I won Moscow State University contest, and one of the very, very few first kids to leave Moscow to go study in the United States.
What year was that?
I won the contest in '92.
So right around the time that
exactly.
the wall was coming down? Wow.
Yeah, so I was very interesting, fortunate enough, and I can imagine at 16 traveling by yourself to a different country was pretty scary. But the idea was for me to graduate university and go back and work with the family office. After, as soon as I got to university, it's a week up to my 17th birthday, I got in a horrific car accident. So doctors gave me 3 days to live, and absolute best case scenario was the wheelchair for me. And when you go through something like that, being alone in a different country, my mom, of course, flew as soon as she could. She was there less than a week after, probably. It's a very, very scary experience. And it's really changes your life to a complete different direction because you look at everything from a totally different perspective. So whatever plans you have or you had, they're not existent anymore.
But hold on, you skipped over something there. You were supposed to be in a wheelchair best case scenario. What happened? Miracle?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was going to go. Thanks for putting it out. Yes, miracle is one way to put it. I think it's, like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich book. Like he says, if you really have a really strong desire to accomplish something, you really focus on it, you see it happening, and you create a mastermind. This kid was mastermind with my mom, and you look through it and push it through. You can achieve anything. There's no limitation on what you can achieve in your life. It's all here, and believing and having faith in things.
So you decided you were going to walk.
For me, it was, or I'm having a normal life to the best point I can have it, or I'm just not going to live if I'm not going to get up and walk. So I was very black and white. And my perseverance and my mom's help, it's like we both really pushed it through, and I think that what got me out of the wheelchair in the first place.
So how quickly you said you were back, a year of physiotherapy, and then you were back to the U.S., and were you walking then?
How quickly is a hard thing to say because, the recovery is still going on. Once you have a nerve damage, there are certain things that always stay with you. But I was in a wheelchair and a full body cast for about 6 months, tied to a bed for about 2 months in the hospital. But, every single thing that you can look at it as a curse or you can look at it as a blessing. So instead of crying over like, why did it happen to me? I took it as an opportunity to, if I were almost died and I was giving a second chance not only to live, but to create, to still graduate, to come from a very good family. I really have a specific purpose in the world. And instead of just being, okay, what I need to do to go back to my family, to run the business, it actually, my whole mentality switched why I'm here, why I'm alive, and what can I do with that knowledge and information. So from that on, Playboy kind of came in a way by chance because I was just to prove myself I could walk because I could actually mentally overcome it. I couldn't really wear heels. I had a chance to enter in the #1 bikini contest in the world. So that was my challenge. If I can walk that stage with 200,000 contestants compete to be on the finals, and I was on the finals, I mentally overcame my accident. That was already last month before my graduation from university.
Wow. So even to enter the bikini contest and like all the other women that were entering, you had a little bit different perspective.
I didn't care about winning or anything. I just cared about mentally walking through the stage knowing that I can fall any second because I had no balance and I could not wear heels.
Wow. Even becoming a Playboy Playmate and being in the magazine and all of what comes with that, that was even more of an achievement for you based on...
I think that, like when you look back, say why this opportunity was presented, I didn't know what Playboy was. I arrived at the Playboy Mansion at the day of the Playmate of the Year Awards, and security comes to me and is like, well, Hef wanted you to join to the Playmate of the Year party. I was like, really? And who's Hef? That's how clueless I was when I got there. I was totally a girl from a noble family, just focusing on survival and school and business. And now, for some reason, I was literally thrown there because I was supposed to be in financial area, but I couldn't get my work visa through finance because you have to prove that no American are qualified. The news from my attorney come when I'm in the mansion, and just say, okay, we'll sponsor your work visa.
And we're talking with Natalia Sokolova, the managing partner of Sokol Family Office, former Playboy Playmate, And we're going to be right back with more. Stay with us. We're back with Natalia Sokolova, managing partner of SGG World's Sokol family office. And Natalia, you have a wild background of coming from the former Soviet Union, ending up in North America as basically a young teenager, car accident, in a wheelchair, fighting through that. Playboy Playmate, 1999? Yeah, so if you want to look it up, there it is. Today, you're now gamification of the world. What are you talking about?
Let's take Playboy, for example. Playboy is a lifestyle brand. Playboy is about culture, about art, about music, Playboy Jazz Festival. Hef was able to create a total revolution. He's got the best politician coming. So it was a complete brand around lifestyle. And sexuality and the beauty of women's beauty was a part of it. But it was always very tasteful, very peaceful, and very artistic. So, and if you take that concept and you say, okay, let's talk about gamification. So what is gamification, first of all? Right now, all the companies, they're trying to get customers it's all about interaction of companies, clients, consumers. So how do you do in a very high-paced society when we all have this tons of screen about and things are blinking every second? There's 2.6 billion people playing games daily. That's a huge number. So if you start from that number, say, why do they play? So the game Fortnite is the greatest game, which is the most interaction. A week ago, you have Ace creating Apex Legends. Then in a day, it does what Fortnite did in 4 months. So what is that creates and why people look at that and not that? So that is very hard to predict. But what we know is that people do pay attention to new gaming, and it's probably number one way to get somebody's attention. And there's a lot of misconception about gamers as well, because people think it's some kind of kid sitting like in a corner, pizzas everywhere and just, drenched clothes. But realistically, the average life of a gamer is 36 years old. So, early 30s.
The average gamer
has a family, has a business, or has a good income, owns a home, have family, kids. So it's totally not what you really thinking about gaming. By gamification, everything is being gamified right now. Walmart, you cannot become a manager that just announced it until you finish the game that Walmart created for all the employees.
Oh, a training program for Walmart.
Training programs. Then education, Khan Academy. It's using gaming to get interaction with the kids. I just read there was an instance when they're trying to find a cure for cancer, and so for doctors they need data from the kids. How do we get the kids to write down, okay, my pain level, how I'm feeling? So they created a game, a very interactive game to help kids to put the data, and that's actually helped a company to get much closer to finding a solution for cancer. And so I know you can go for days giving different example. So that's. I feel that, I come across the company that is a WHAM network. And what WHAM did, what I thought was absolutely amazing that nobody else really did, it's a media company that basically represents every single thing that gaming-related, lifestyle of gamers, and as an MTV for gaming. So their unofficial slogan is gaming is a force for good. And coming as a mom of a 13-year-old as a gamer and kicking him outside to play games, to play real games, basketball, playing hoops. It's like, stop playing video games, understanding that the value of the games and that you cannot just stop one activity versus the other activity, you have to find the balance of the two. So it was a literally good learning experience to me. So combining my Playboy to WHAM, which is a lifestyle of gaming, which is the future of how you get the message across, I'm a big believer in that, is giving me a chance to be a part of something that gives me a highway to get a message across to 2.6 billion people. And whatever the message can be from learning, from engagement, from education. We're working with different strategic companies, musicians, top musicians, they're all gamers, work on Universal Music to do a separate red carpet. So they talk about their gaming experiences. So, there's so much. So I think that everything going on in the world, this is one really big area that can really use a really interesting platform to pass the message through. Also, of course, I look at it as an investor from standpoint of view. Rather than investing in esports, how do you know? It's only one company one team wins out of how many? And you need to put 30 to 50 million into a team, support them. This is why you have one media company that has a global distribution that can help you to pass the message on, that can help you with your foundation, your charities, like Games for Change, using kids for autism to use the gaming to influence their healing. So I think it's just a really interesting concept. With WHAM, it's about lifestyle. So they do a TV show about life of a gamer. Let's say you're an attorney representing a gaming company, and you do behind the scenes or like a cooking show when you cook and talk. So it's something that stays in the content that can be reused many times. That's what attracts a lot of people. They do partner with Twitch, so the WHAM is on the Twitch and vice versa. The company, say the biggest one for esports, Jinx out of UK, they only focus on esports. So they're very, very individual and very narrow. So WHAM focuses on everything, and it gives amazing opportunity for, for companies, for people who want to put their message across, to figure out the way to do it through the gamification purpose and create a show behind it. And I think that can be really fascinating, because that gives you that highway to get your passion across to so many people who are gaming.
You mentioned passion. It's all over you.
Thank you.
Natalia Sokolova, thank you so much for joining us on Biz 101.
Thank you, Randy.
Nice to have you.